excerpt from The Hunger Games, written by Suzanne Collins. It's too bad, really, that they hold a reaping in the square. It's one of the few places in District 12 that can be pleasant. The square is surrounded by shops, and on public market days, especially if there's good weather, it has a holiday feel to it. But today, despite the bright banners hanging on the buildings, there's an air of grimness. The camera crews, perched like buzzards on the rooftops, only add to the effect. People file in silently and sign in. The reaping is a good opportunity for the Capitol to keep tabs on the population as well. 12 through 18-year-olds are herded into roped areas that are marked off by ages, the oldest in the front, and the young ones, like Friend, my little sister, towards the back. Family members line up around the perimeter, holding tightly to one another's hands. But there are others, too, who have no one that they love at stake, or who no longer care, and who slip around among the crowd, taking bets on the two kids whose names will be chosen. Odds are given on their ages, whether they're seam or merchant, if they'll break down and weep. Most refuse dealing with these racketeers, but carefully, very carefully, some do, because these same people tend to be informers, and who hasn't broken the law? I could be shot on a daily basis for hunting, but the appetites of those in charge protect me, and not everyone can claim the same. Anyway, Gail and I agree that if we have to choose between dying of hunger and a bullet in the head, the bullet would be much quicker. The space gets tighter, more claustrophobic as people arrive. The square is quite large, but not enough to hold District 12's population of about 8,000 people. So latecomers are directed to the adjacent streets where they can watch the event on screens, as it is televised live by the state. And I find myself standing in a clump of 16-year-olds from the scene. We all exchange terse nods, then focus our attention on the temporary stage that is set up before the Justice Building. It holds 3 chairs. There's a podium and 2 large glass balls, one for the boys and one for the girls. And I stare at the glass ball that has the slips of paper for the girls. 20 of them have Katniss Everdeen written on them in careful handwriting. 2 of the 3 chairs filled with Madge's father, Mayor Undersea, who's a tall, balding man, and Effie Trinket, District 12's escort, fresh from the Capitol with her scary white grin, her pinkish hair, and her spring green suit. They murmur to each other and then look with concern at the empty seat. Just as the town clock strikes 2, the mayor steps up to the podium and he begins to read. It's the same story every year. He tells of the history of Panem, the country that rose up out of the ashes of a place that was once called North America. He lists the disasters, the droughts, the storms, the fires, the encroaching sea that swallowed up so much of the land, and the brutal war for what little sustenance remained. And the result was Panem, a shining capital ringed by 13 districts, which brought peace and prosperity to its citizens. Then came the dark days, the uprising of the districts against the capital. 12 districts were defeated, and the 13th was obliterated. The Treaty of Treason gave us the new law that guaranteed peace, and as our yearly reminder of the dark days, that they must never be repeated, it also gave us the Hunger Games. Now, the rules of the Hunger Game are really simple. In punishment for the uprising, each of the 12 districts must provide 1 girl and 1 boy, called tributes, to participate. The 24 tributes will be imprisoned in a vast outdoor arena that could hold anything from a burning desert to a frozen wasteland. And over a period of several weeks, the competitors must fight to the death. The last tribute standing wins. Taking the kids from our district and forcing them to kill one another while we watch, this is the Capitol's way of reminding us how totally we are in their mercy. How little chance we would stand of surviving another rebellion. Whatever words they use, the real message is clear. Look how we take your children and sacrifice them, and there is nothing you can do. If you lift a finger, we will destroy every last one of you, just as we did District 13. To make it humiliating as well as torturous, the Capitol requires us to treat the Hunger Games as a festivity, a sporting event pitting every district against the others. The last tribute alive receives a life of ease back home, and their district will be showered with prizes, largely consisting of food. All year, the Capitol will shower the winning district with gifts of grain and oil, and even delicacies like sugar, while the rest of us battle starvation. It is both a time of repentance and a time of thanks, intones the mayor. Then he reads the list of the past District 12 victors. In 74 years, we have had exactly 2, and only one is still alive. Hamish Abernathy, a paunchy, middle-aged man who at this very moment appears, hollering something unintelligible, staggers onto the stage and falls into the 3rd chair. He's drunk, very drunk. And the crowd responds with its token applause, but he refuses, and he gets confused, and he tries to give Effie Trinket a big hug, which she barely manages to fend off. And the mayor's looking distressed. Since all of this is being televised, right now District 12 is the laughingstock of Panem, and he knows it. He quickly tries to pull the attention back to the reaping by introducing Effie Trinket. Bright and bubbly as ever, Effie Trinket trots to the podium and gives her signature. Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds ever be in your favor. Her pink hair must be a wig because her curls have shifted slightly off center since her encounter with Hamish. And she goes on a bit about what an honor it is to be here, and although everyone knows she's just aching to get bumped to a better district where they have proper victors, not drunks who molest you in front of the entire nation. Through the crowd, I spot Gail looking back at me with the ghost of a smile. As readings go, this one at least has a slight entertainment factor. I started now thinking of Gail and his 42 names in that big glass ball, and how the odds are not in his favor, not compared to a lot of the boys. And maybe he's thinking the same thing about me, because his face darkens and he turns away. But there are still thousands of slips I wish I could whisper to him. It's time for the drawing, Effie Trinket says, as she always does. Ladies first. And she crosses to the glass ball with the girls' names. She reaches in, digs her hand deep into the ball, and pulls out one slip of paper. The crowd draws in a collective breath, and then you can hear a pin drop. And I'm feeling nauseous, and so desperately hoping that it's not me, that it's not me, that it's not me. Effie Trinket crosses back to the podium, smooths the slip of paper, and reads out the name in a clear voice. And it's not me. It's Primrose Everdeen, my 12-year-old sister. One time when I was in a blind in a tree, waiting motionlessly for game to wander by, I dozed off and I fell 10 feet to the ground, landing on my back. It was as if the impact had knocked every wisp of air from my lungs, and I lay there struggling to inhale, to exhale, to do anything. That's how I feel right now, trying to remember how to breathe, unable to speak, totally stunned as the name bounces around inside my skull. Someone is gripping my arm, a boy from the scene, and I think maybe I started to fall when he caught me. There must have been some mistake. This can't be happening. Prim was one slip of paper in thousands. Her chances of being chosen so remote that I had not even bothered to worry about her. Hadn't I done everything? I had taken the tesserae, refused to let her do the same. One slip of paper, one slip in thousands. The odds had been entirely in her favor, but it hadn't mattered. Somewhere far away, I can hear the crowd murmuring unhappily, as they always do when a 12-year-old gets chosen, because no one thinks this is fair. And then I see her, the blood drain from her face, hands clenched and fists at her side, walking with stiff, small steps up towards the stage, passing me, and I see the back of her blouse has become untucked and hangs out over her skirt. It's this detail, the untucked blouse, that forms a ducktail that brings me back to myself. Prim! The strangled cry comes from my throat, and my muscles begin to move again. Prim! I don't need to shove through the crowd. The other kids make way immediately, allowing me a straight path to the stage. And I reach her just as she's about to mount the steps. And with one sweep of my arm, I push her behind me. I volunteer, I gasp. I volunteer as the tribute. Mr. Toastmaster.